Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing well. Give everybody a few minutes to come on in. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Uh, we are live and we should be starting in just a couple of minutes. Give everybody an opportunity to join us here. We're going to be continuing our conversation on mental health. So, welcome. Write me a comment in there so I know that you're on and that you can both hear and see me. Hey Lauren, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you there. Hey Josh, how are you? Good to see you also. Patricia, good evening. Hope you're doing well. I'll give a couple of more minutes for people to come on in. Hey Eddie, good evening. We're going to have a very interesting conversation tonight. And remember, we're not really focusing on mental illness, we are focusing on mental health. So, I mean, of course, they are tied together, but we're trying to focus on the positive things that can come out of mental illness, but really trying to take care of ourselves. Hey, Susanna and George, good to see you. Myrna, Emily, good to see you. So I'm glad you guys are online there. Got a lot of material, but no stress. Whatever we don't complete today, we will continue next week. Jenny, God bless you. Good evening. Okay, I see a bunch of people are coming on here. Hey Jay, how are you? Olga, Jean, good to see you. Hey Pastor Sam, good to have you there. My buddy Jeff, glad you're there. Okay, so hey Eliana, good to see you there. So past couple of weeks we've spoken about we began with the introduction a couple of weeks ago on mental health in general. And then we spoke last week about ambivalence, right? That good place where we have to make some decisions, which is not easy for everyone. Hey Vilma, good to have you there. Judy, good to see you. So I know that we are all ambivalent about certain things. So sometimes it's a little difficult to do things, but that's not a bad place to be. It's just a place where we are uh, being tasked and being asked to be mature enough to make decisions. Not always easy. I know it's a little bit difficult. Now today we're gonna go in a different direction. Hey Janine, good to see you there. We are going to go in the direction of when we are taxed or when we are burdened by the behavior of another individual. So we're going to speak about that in just a little while. Uba, ¿cómo está? Emily, good to see you there again. So we're going to focus tonight on emotional vampires. Now, I know from my end, the video is fine, but I do understand and I've been told that from your guys' end, sometimes the video is a little jumpy. It moves around a bit. I don't really see that. I don't really see that. So you could let me know what happens. I really can't make any difference on my end. But later on, when it's complete, I believe it doesn't do that. And when I put it on YouTube over the weekend or sometime between today and Saturday, it'll be up on YouTube and there it'll be better. So I shared in the beginning in the little chat box Open Door Ministries website, and you go there and you can join us on our YouTube channel and you'll get more information there. So I see more people are coming on. Hey Thoraya, good to see you there. Farah, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. So as I said, we're gonna get into this here. Today we're gonna be speaking about, hey Melody, emotional vampires. Now, emotional vampires are those individuals that drain the life from us. Now, I don't want you to start looking at anybody else. Hey, Farah, good to see you there. Don't start looking at other people or thinking about other people, because if truth be told, all of us have a little bit of that vampire inside of us. We can all be a little taxing to other individuals. We can all be emotional vampires. But what I'm going to speak about tonight are those emotional vampires that take it to the extreme, where, boy, they drain your blood, they take away everything inside of you, and they leave you a withered mess. Hey, Gladys. So that's what I'm going to speak about tonight. But again, I want us to be cautious here, because generally speaking, we tend to look at other people in a negative light in terms of the things we do. But when we do negative things, what do? We make excuses for ourselves. Oh, I was tired, or I was hungry, or I was lonely. Remember Holt? Or whatever it was that I was. We can make an excuse for ourselves, and we generally hold other people's feet to the fire. So I want us to be careful about that as we get into this conversation tonight. But I'm hoping it's going to be a lively conversation. Now, I must remind you, please don't put personal information in the chat. That's not what this is about. Your personal struggles, whatever you're going through, that's for another place and for another time. Now, certainly, you can reach out to me by messenger. But that's not what this is about. We're having a conversation in generally speaking. Of course, all of us have been affected or bitten by an emotional vampire if we are not the ones that have been doing the biting. So let's be aware of that we can all succumb to this role of vampire at some point in our lives. And perhaps we were that and we changed, or maybe we're becoming that and we have to be cautious and kind of pull back a little bit so that we are careful in not hurting other individuals. So this is from this particular book. Now, there are quite a number of books with the same title, Emotional Vampires. A lot of material, but this is from this particular book. So I'm going to see if you guys can see it well. I also put it in the chat, the information. I'm holding it up there. Emotional Vampires by Albert Bernstein. Hope you guys can see it. Now you can, my big fingers on the way there. So Emotional Vampires, Dealing with People Who Drain You Dry by Albert J. Bernstein, or Bernstein, PhD. Okay, you can rewind that whenever you want, get the info. So what is an emotional vampire? Well, the title of the book says it right there. Emotional vampire is a person who drains you dry. They take your vitality. They take your energy. It feels like you are unable to live. You can't take a breath because they're all over you. Now, I'm not talking about mere closeness, not just that they're physically close to you, but sometimes it seems as if the way they act and the way they are is overwhelming to your system, to your emotional system, maybe even your spiritual system. They can be suffocating. Now, as I said before, this also could be us. So we have to be careful about that. Thank you, Jay, for sharing the title there. So in the chat, right in the beginning, I also posted some of the things that I'm going to mention today about these emotional vampires. And I'll just read it out. Some of them are antisocial. They're histrionic. They're narcissistic. They're obsessive-compulsive and paranoid. Now, it doesn't mean that every emotional vampire has every single one of these things. Remember, we are speaking in generalities. But what I want us to understand, the bottom line is this. These emotional vampires seem to just drain us. You have a conversation with them, and by the time you're finished, if you got any talking done, but by the time you're finished, you feel like you're down in the dumps. If they were depressed, you are now depressed. If they were tired, you are now tired. If they were feeling blah, now you're feeling blah, because they have infected you with their blood. Whatever the negativity in their life has come down upon you. Now, it becomes very difficult, let's say in a partnership. It could be, let's say, in a marriage or in a business partnership, or if you work in a facility with other individuals that are constantly negative. They're pulling the energy out of you. They're always looking for the thing that went wrong rather than celebrating the thing that went right. Now, I know you all know people like this. I certainly know people like this. But in your opinion, now this is your opportunity to write in the chat there. Now, when you write in the chat, hey Henry, good to see you. When you write in the chat, please don't write too fast. Last week I had to delete one because a really wrong word came out. in the chat there. Please don't go so fast. Write slowly. You have time, and we'll go through as many of the chat, what you write there, as we can. So, in your opinion, what are the characteristics of a vampire? The characteristics of a vampire in general. You've seen the movies, you've seen the shows, you've seen Twilight, and you've seen Dracula, and you've seen all these things. What are the characteristics of a vampire in general? I'll give you a moment to respond there. Characteristics of a vampire. You can write in the chat there. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mitch. Definitely a bloodsucker. Oh, that's very good. Carmen Henry Valdejo put there, they put people in a trance. Oh, Tharea, someone who seeks his victim out. Now, her victim also. Okay, so let's be fair here. No gender bias. Okay, Farah says they approach with negativity. Okay, wait, let me go down. It's moving fast. Okay, no positive outlook. Melody says bloodfangers, fangs, dark. Ampora says they're evil. Oh, Eddie says they don't like the light. Hey, Ricky. Ricky says, let me see, they have an allure to them. They sometimes seem well off in some way. Excellent. And this is a direction in which we are going to go. Most of the things that have been posted are negative things. Vampires, you see the movies, you see the shows, they are very attractive. NJ Diaz says they are parasitic. Patricia says they are manipulative, controlling. Okay. Lauren says they're vain, maybe loners. Yeah, absolutely charismatic. Darkness. Oh, Jeffrey says a black hole incarnate. Manipulative, abusive. Oh, you guys are writing a lot. Dima says they drain out. Thank you, Thoraya. Oh, Ampora says something very interesting. They have no mirror image. That's interesting. You know, emotional vampires suffer from a lack of insight. They have a difficult time recognizing the things that they do wrong, but they're excellent at recognizing what you and I do wrong. That's very good. Carmen says they sleep during the day. Okay, so they're sleeping when they should be awake. Okay, very good. And Jenny says sleep all day, awake at night. Myrna says they hypnotize. They appear to be good. Okay, so we're going to stop because we could go on forever in there. Farah says the appearance is appealing, but the inner souls are dark. Eileen says they're charming. Yeah. Jay says they're controlling and they seek to wrap you into their lifestyle. Oh, and Jenny comes up with an excellent one. They may have a high IQ. That's excellent. Thank you, guys. So that's a lot of information right there. I mean, just talking about that, we could be here all day with that. Henry says they can't stand the cross. That's a good one. Yes, and yes. What do we need to know about these vampires? Well, a number of things were said there. We'll stay on a couple of them. They are manipulative. They are charismatic. They draw you in, but you don't know that you are being drawn in. You fall under their spell very easily. And this becomes the problem. If you are a needy person, now when I say needy, I'm not saying that in a negative way. Everybody is a needy person to some degree. We have needs and we have wants. When that person comes that appears, now that's a big word here, that appears to meet our needs and our wants, we are drawn to them. But I want you to understand that it is very easy for some of these individuals to read you and to read me because they see the signs of either weakness or neediness or things that we want. by the way we speak, by the way we act, by the way we walk, by the way we're just in general, and they come in for the kill. Right? So you got to be careful. Very, very careful. Now, Uba put something good here in from a therapist's perspective. And all you guys who are therapists out there, there's quite a number here. Please feel free to share. She says people are scared of them. And she wrote there, oh no, not you again. And I guess this comes from a counseling perspective. That patient that you do not want to see on your schedule. Okay, so you know what? Thank you for admitting that. I would hate to admit that, but that is the reality. This is the person that comes to you over and over and over again, even after you have worked out a treatment plan and the treatment plan appears to be working, but they may want to continue. Now, they are emotional vampires in the sense that they drain you, but they're also very needy people. So that changes the perspective to us to a certain degree. But fine. And we, if you're a therapist, you're a minister, we fall for the trap. Now, this is the problem. Or this is one of the problems. As you and I are attending to the emotional vampire and their constant needs or wants, what happens? Other people who have needs and wants are not being attended to. And this is where the minister and the therapist is going to have to set boundaries with these individuals. But we're going to speak more about that later on. Today, we're just going to focus on who these individuals are, how these individuals work. Oh, Nancy says something excellent. They become strongholds. Oh, that word stronghold, biblically speaking, is a very powerful word because it can be a positive stronghold, as in the Lord is my stronghold, or it can be a negative thing, as when we are stuck in a stronghold. Something has a hold over us. So that's a very powerful word. So I wrote in the chat in the very beginning, you have it there, and it was shared a couple of times, some words. So let's get into that. Antisocial. Talking about emotional vampires here. This particular type of vampire, the antisocial one, well, it's not necessarily that they don't want to be around people. They don't want to be around people that recognize them. And this is where you and I need to be careful, because they're going to try to constantly get you alone. Because once they get you alone, Thereia says it here, they prey on our weakness. Yes, and if you are a helper, you will cater to it instead of working or helping them work on themselves or working on yourself. That's important. Thank you for sharing that again, Jay. You can see the words that we have there. Yes, if you are a helper, you fall into the trap quite easily. Absolutely, I fall into it. We all do, because we want to help. But helping also means that you are helping the individual to be weaned off of therapy or off of whatever the thing that you are helping them with. So the antisocial vampire, they are heedless of social rules. They are not concerned about what is proper in society. They are more concerned about what they can get from whatever they can get. Yeah, Jeff says it. The meeting after the meeting. And the meeting after the meeting after the meeting. These are the ones that constantly do door knobbing. You know door knobbing in social work. That the session is over, they're about to walk out the door, they grab the doorknob, and then they'll do like Columbo does. Oh, one more thing. One more question. Oh, what about this? And you get exasperated. You're like, get out and shut the door. I mean, that's not usually what we do, but you get the picture. So they're heedless of social rules, of what is proper in society, of how to conduct themselves. And they don't mind breaking social custom to get what they want. Now, we are speaking about the antisocial one. We're going to come to the other ones. They're constantly seeking stimulation. They need to be in movement. It's difficult for them to be still. Okay, we're still on the antisocial one. There's movement after movement after movement. What does that mean? That it may be difficult for them to stay in one relationship. Now, obviously, that's not a good characteristic, because then they will not mature in relationships. And then also, they want immediate gratification. Immediate gratification, that's what babies do, right? They cry, they scream. That is their defense mechanism so that you can feed them. And you should feed them. But even babies, you must set limits with them. And after a whatever amount of months, you get them on a schedule. That's really, really important. But that's after some time. These emotional vampires, now, of course, we are speaking about adults. We're not speaking about children here. We're speaking about full-grown adults. They want immediate gratification. They must have whatever they want yesterday. And if you are not able to provide that thing, then you know what? They'll suck you dry and they will go to somebody else because you did not meet their needs. Hey, Heidi, good to see you there. Yes, Jay says it well. They always want to be cuddled and comforted, like a little cat or a puppy. But that's not a grown-up relationship. Yeah, maybe in the beginning of the relationship, but later on, that the relationship must mature. Oh yeah, Nancy says it well. They are boundary violators, and we are guilty of allowing our boundaries to be violated. So we help them to be vampires. And sometimes we assist them in draining us dry. And then what happens? There's a bad breakup. There's a bad ending because we and they didn't set limits when we should have. Hey, Lillian, good to see you there. So that is the antisocial vampire that does all of these things without caring about what is proper in society. No problem with them. Then we come to this is a really interesting one. The histrionic emotional vampire. Now, what's histrionic? These are the actors. These are the ones that put on a show. Oh my Lord. And what a show. What a show. They seek attention and approval. They will do whatever they can to be in the spotlight. Oh, Jeff says something good. Yeah, the ones with deep pockets. Absolutely. They can afford to be in the spotlight. Hey, Marcos, good to see you there. And Henry says they don't like it when light is shed on their game plan. Vampires can't stand the light. That's very true. When they are exposed, they run and hide. But they don't stay hidden forever. They're always looking for victims. And you and I have to be very careful about that. That is why we need to know who is who, or try to find out who's who. Oh yeah, Thereya reminds us that one can become bitter after dealing with an emotional vampire. Absolutely. And this is where we need to be careful not to judge everybody based on what one individual did. And that sometimes can be very difficult. So the histrionic one, they seek attention and approval. They are all about the show, the presentation, how good they look. And that's the second point. They want to look good in every way. They cannot stand the facade to be removed. That is very difficult for them because they have to constantly show that they are in control. Now, I remember quite a number of years ago in dealing with a particular individual who has since passed away. May he rest in peace. And I believe he is with the Lord. I knew him well. I worked closely with this individual. And what occurred? Apparently, although on the outside he was he was a person who liked to do service ministry in church, very helpful in every way. I mean, really, whatever you needed, this person was present. And that's something we have to understand about emotional vampires. They will jump at the chance to serve because they want to be seen as people that are doing everything right. Yeah, Ricky says a lot of celebrities may fall into this category, and that is very possible. But then also keep in mind that we feed their egos by keeping them propped up. So that's on us too. So it's this individual that I knew. Apparently, although on the outside he was of great service and he did a lot of good things, was also an abuser to his wife, to the point that he would tell her. Now, she said this after his passing away, so she kept the secret throughout his life. He had a weapon, and he had said, "This is for me and for you," at some point. And she was terrified of him. The Lord took care of that. God knows how to take care of these things. But on the other hand, there are other people who are suffering in these kinds of relationships, and it's very difficult for them to deal with. So you know what? We are not of those individuals that keep these kinds of secrets. We are to help other individuals. So if anyone is going through that situation, please don't put that in the chat here. Reach out to somebody, and whatever means we have, we will help. That's what we are available to do. So again, the histrionic one. They seek attention and approval. They want to look good in every way. They deny that they do anything wrong. You could catch them in the wrong act, and they'll tell you, no, you saw the wrong thing, and you begin to question yourself. You know, gaslighting. You ever seen the movie Gaslight? Wonderful movie. I think it's Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer. One version is another version a little earlier than that. It's another excellent one. But gaslighting is when you try to make someone appear like to make them doubt their senses, or like they're going crazy by moving things around or hiding things or making them seem like they are forgetting things. That's gaslighting. So these people, they will do that. They deny that they're doing anything wrong. It's all your fault, and it's all my fault. And so we have to be very careful about that. Jay says that when you have more than one vampire and they can breed fast, it can be overwhelming because of the constant attention they need. Absolutely. And what happens? The more attention you give to the vampire, the less attention you give to yourself. Keep that in mind. Be very careful about that. Nancy says they live a false reality. Absolutely. And they live it well. So they deny that they do anything wrong, and they constantly put on a show, and they are the star. God forbid you would do anything to take the light off the vampire. They are not going to be happy with you. So just keep that in mind. That's the histrionic vampire. That's the one that likes to be out there, that likes to be seen, and that likes to be heard, that makes a lot of noise. They're very dramatic. They're out there talking or singing or in the limelight constantly. Now, that's not to say that everybody who's doing that is that kind of thing. Please remember, we are speaking in generalities here, but this is the reality of this type of individual who's draining others dry by the way they conduct themselves and constantly pushing the other person to the side. Now, it may not be overt. Other people may absolutely not know that the other person is being injured in this manner, but the person who's being injured certainly does know. So just keep that in mind. Then there is the narcissistic emotional vampire. Boy, this one is a legend in their own mind. You've heard that before. It's all about them. It's all about me. It's all about what I say. It's all about how I look. I do this well, and I do the other thing well, and I do the other thing well. And they're constantly promoting how well they do things. Well, you got to be careful with that type of individual, because they want to be seen in that special way of almost perfection. But as you well know, none of us are perfect. We're all maturing. We're all seeking a perfection in the sense of rising to a higher level, whether it be education or in our career, in our vocations, whatever it is. But none of us is perfect in the sense that we do not do anything wrong. They want that to be seen like that, like they can do no wrong. And they get very upset if anything that they have done wrong does come out. The cover-up begins when the cracks begin to show. We're speaking about the narcissistic emotional vampire. They don't consider other people's feelings at all. Yeah, Dima says they're bullies. Yeah, basically they're bullies. It's not about anybody else. For them, there's a disparity in power. They have more power than the people that they are putting down. You see this in dictatorships, and you see this in cult leaders. They're supremely powerful. No one can question them. So they're not considerate of other people's feelings. They don't care about what another person feels. In general, they are self-serving, and they need to win at all costs. Bottom line. But for them, winning doesn't necessarily mean like winning a game or something, football or basketball. Winning for them means that they are constantly over the other person that they are draining dry. They are winning over their victim in their minds. My buddy Jeff says, quoting them, Lord, it's hard to be humble. It sure is. Eddie says that they're demanding. Absolutely. Jay says, I run into this one regularly. They are so good in everything, but yet need affirmation or support from you. Absolutely. Well, that's what keeps them propped up. That you continue to say how good you are, how wonderful you are. No mistakes have been made. Everything is good. All is excellent from the way they appear, the way they act. That's a dangerous place to be because we're propping up something that's not real. At some point, we're all going to fail at something. That's not a bad thing. That just proves that we're human. And so now we also have to understand that some of these people, as someone mentioned before, they may have very high IQs, but they have a low emotional quotient. So they may have a high intelligence quotient, but emotionally, they may be like children because that part of them may not have developed well. And this is why they need the constant propping up. So that was the narcissistic one. In general, they are self-serving and they need to win at all costs. I'm going to speak about the next two, and then I'm going to ask you guys to chime in a little bit more here. The obsessive-compulsive emotional vampire. Okay? They are addicted to what they perceive as safety. Whatever they think is safe to them, they're going to gravitate to that kind of thing. So, for example, you've heard of the man that, or the kind of man that is constantly looking for the latest widow. You know, the husband has passed away. Maybe she has a little bit of money. He's not really attracted to her, but it's a place of safety for him to go and mess with this lady. That's the kind of thing we're speaking about here. So this is the obsessive-compulsive vampire. Whatever they think is safe for them, that they don't have to take a risk and be hurt, that's where they're going to go. They like to be in a place where they are cared for constantly. They dislike surprises as they need to be in control constantly. They need to know that they are running the show. And if they're not running the show, they're not in a happy place. So you have to be careful of that individual. Also, the obsessive-compulsive emotional vampire, they have difficulty making decisions or praising anyone. It is very difficult for them to see good in anybody else outside of them. And that brings us back to the narcissistic part. But this is the obsessive-compulsive one. They get stuck. They stay in a particular place for long periods of time because they have become very accustomed to not making major decisions. They don't rock the boat. They want to stay in a place where they're constantly being fed, right? They're getting all this blood. They're constantly being fed. It's nutritious for them. It's draining other individuals, but nobody has the nerve or the guts or the heart to tell them, you're stopping right now. You're done. And we're going to come to that at a later point, not right now, how we deal with these individuals. So again, they have difficulty making decisions or praising anyone. It's all about me. Jay tells us they can be a wolf in sheep's clothing in the church. Absolutely. And some of them can hide very well, but this is why we need discernment. We need to be prayed up so that when people come, we're not judging people, not that, but we are asking for revelation. And whoever comes into the church as they begin to do things together with other individuals, because we have to keep the people in church safe, or wherever it's in your job, wherever it is that you have some authority. And finally, and the list is not conclusive, but for our purposes, the paranoid emotional vampire. Now, this is another interesting one. They seek hidden meanings and deeper realities. The paranoid one, they're constantly looking for the text in the Bible within the text in the Bible, within the text in the Bible. They want to go deeper and deeper, and they go in so deep that they end up messing themselves up, and they can also become kind of cultic in the way they behave. They can lose themselves in, let's say for example, this is just an example. They get into numerology. They get into the scriptures and they say, yeah, because go to Genesis chapter 7 and Revelation chapter 7 and Numbers chapter 7 and Deuteronomy chapter 7, and you put all those sevens together and you get what, 7, 14, 21, 28, and that means this, and that, whatever. And they just go on and on and on and on and on. There's a sense of paranoia there. Even their speech can be rapid. There's a sense of lack of control, yet being controlled. Garnetta asks, are these the overthinkers? Yes, these are individuals. Now, as social workers, I know you're a social worker, we tend to analyze a lot. But these are people that so overanalyze that they may not even be able to make a move. And so they mask it well, though. They mask it well by hiding behind other individuals. Yes. Nancy says they lose their minds. They're never satisfied. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Jeff brings us a good point. They're obsessed with demonology. You got it. These are individuals that are forever into the spiritual. And now, I'll stop here for a second. I do believe that God speaks today, but God speaks through his written word. And of course, I will not deny that God can do anything that he did in the scriptures today. But the place that God is mostly speaking to us through is through the word of God, through the Bible. These individuals are constantly hearing, seeing, sensing, and we have to be careful with that. Can God do those things? Absolutely. But we have to be careful with that. And then, so I said they seek hidden meanings and deeper realities. And finally, they are very suspicious and constantly question motives. They're all about, I wonder what that person is thinking about me. I wonder what that person wants from me. Did you see the way that person looked at me? Oh, did you see what happened here? Did you see what happened there? And they're constantly, they have this sense of people are out to get them, when in reality, it is them that are getting at people. Oh, Dima tells us something interesting. They may have lots of knowledge, but no love. There is a skewed sense of love there. In their minds, they think they are loving, but in reality, they are hurting other individuals. And if we are not careful, we are the individuals that they are hurting because we are allowing that. So we have to be very careful. Myrna tells us, and this is exactly right, they are suspicious of everything. And so we have to take a step back from some of these individuals and be careful. Yeah. NJ Diaz tells us that sounds like an exhausting way to live. And I would agree 100%. It has to be exhausting to live that kind of life. And I think that is why some of these people go from just living this type of lifestyle to even becoming mentally ill. Because, as someone already said, they overthink, they overanalyze, and they begin to believe some of the things that they think about to a negative degree. Eileen tells us that they push people away, and then they wonder why people have moved away from them. This is the reality. They have a difficult time maintaining real friendships. There's a lot of friendships. There's a lot of acquaintances. Like my 2,000 friends on Facebook. How many do I know? I don't know. I don't know half of them. So those are not real friends. That's a Facebook thing. But real friendships, real people that you talk to and that you get advice from, I can count them in one hand probably. So they have to be careful about that kind of thing. So I'm going to stop for a second and ask you guys a question. After having said all those things about the antisocial, histrionic, narcissistic, obsessive-compulsive, and paranoid emotional vampire, what do you think, your opinion, your humble opinion, what do you think they are seeking? These emotional vampires, what do they want? I'll give you a couple of minutes to respond there, and then we're going to move to another section here. What do you think these emotional vampires really want? Or why are they emotional vampires? What's going on? Oh, that's really good. I mean, they're looking for love and acceptance. What most of us are looking for. Yes, yes, that's absolutely a part of what they're looking for. Hi, Karen, good to see you there. Absolutely, they're looking for attention, and my buddy Jeff says the same thing. They're looking for attention. They want to be seen. There's a need to be out there. Yep. Therea says they want acceptance and validation for their pain, or she says for their so-called pain. Acceptance and affirmation. Yes. They're seeking affirmation. Absolutely. Oh, that's a good one. Farah says they're looking for attention and the satisfaction of sabotage. Oof, kind of heavy there. Stop that for a sec. Stop there for a second. Sabotage. Maybe if they didn't come up with the plan, they're gonna make sure that the plan gets messed up because it wasn't their idea. So keep that in mind. Okay. NJDS says, I think something happens to them to make them feel that they need to take from others to survive. That is very possible. Very, very possible. Jay tells us they want to create their own kind of support system that fits their agenda. Oh, Maribel says they want affection and an authority. Yeah, that's very, very possible. There's deep hurt there. Yes, there quite possibly can be some deep hurt there. Myrna says they want to be loved and known. Eliana says they want validation and security. Absolutely. They want to know that they are seen, but they do it the wrong way. Nancy says, I don't think they really know what they need. They appear to, and I missed the end of your sentence there. Melody says they're emotionally deficient. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Nancy says they can be delusional. Yes. And this is an issue. Oh, Heidi says something good. They want your soul. Okay. Now, I don't think they want your soul like the devil wants your soul, but they want you to cater to them in totality. Ricky says they want security and not to feel vulnerable. But getting back to what Nancy said, they can be delusional. You know, when a person truly has delusions, that's a very dangerous place to be. Unfortunately, here in New York, we're seeing quite a bit of this, where unfortunately the numbers of people that have mental health issues continues to increase, and they are out in the streets at times and hurting other individuals. And so we need to be prayed up when we go out into the street, but we also need to know that some of these people are not seeing what you and I are seeing. They really are delusional. They're seeing other things. And so we need to know that we know how to walk down the street, and that we would be able to be very careful how we maneuver ourselves around these individuals. Very, very careful about that. Michelle says they want love and power over others. Okay, Carmen says, can this have anything to do with being breastfed versus not being breastfed as a baby? You know, I don't know if any studies have been done on that. I don't know if our nutrition might have anything to do with that. I do know that there is a diagnosis called failure to thrive, when a child is not cared for in the early stages of their life and they don't develop naturally. I don't think they generally become emotional vampires. They're more neglected and abused, and they may actually be more depressed and anxious rather than hurting other individuals like these individuals we're speaking about here. Hey, there's my niece. Hey, Carmen, good to see you there. So all of this is part of being an emotional vampire. And as has been mentioned here, these are individuals that also may be suffering. They may be going through some difficult times in their lives. So in no way am I seeking to say that these individuals are evil people. Now, they may perpetrate evil acts, and they may be evil. They could be individuals who have no qualms about hurting others. But generally speaking, a lot of these people have also been hurt. And so we need to be careful about how we treat them, because we don't want to be like them, right? We know that the Bible says that love covers a multitude of sins. So we need to be able to respond to them. And because our time is running out, I can't believe we've been speaking here for 45 minutes. We need to be able to respond to these individuals with love, but love that has boundaries. We'll speak more about that next week. But Henry asks us an excellent question, and it's a perfect segue. He asks, who were emotional vampires in the Bible? Well, you know, when I was preparing this, I was thinking about that. I'm saying, who were emotional vampires in the Bible? Well, I got an answer almost immediately as I began to think. And the Lord took me to the book of Jude. So if you want to go to the book of Jude, but if not, that's okay. I have the information right in my my hand here. The book of Jude is towards the end of the Bible. You can go backwards. Book of Revelation, and then I believe 3rd John, 2nd John, 1st John, and then is Jude. You go backwards. So in the book of Jude, we have some of these individuals that are emotional vampires. Usually we'll talk about in the last days, and we talk about the book of Timothy. I believe we'll talk about people who are not going to love their parents and who are lovers of themselves, and all those things that we mention constantly. But in the book of Jude, in the Bible, and I have the material here, we see some general examples of what kind of people these might be. So book of Jude, it's only one chapter. I'm going to read out the verses and some of the things that it says, not every single thing. It talks about some individuals that are dreamers. They corrupt the body, their bodies. They scorn people. They reject authority and they reject the government. They revile and they libel and they scoff at things that they don't understand, even heavenly things. All of that. And then it goes on in verse 11, woe to them. They have run riotously. So running riotously is that you're running into danger or into a fire, but you know that you're running into it and you're seeking to run into it. In the way of Cain, what did Cain do? He murdered his brother. That's the way, that was his thinking. I should kill my brother because I'm not happy right now. That is an emotional vampire. They have abandoned themselves for the sake of gain, whatever they can get. And what does that takes them to? The era of Balaam, who was a prophet in the Old Testament who sold out the Israelites for a few dollars. And they have perished in rebellion like that of Korah. Korah in the Old Testament was the one that rebelled against Moses and those who had leadership, God had called to be leaders, and the land opened up and swallowed them. But why are these people being mentioned here? They are being mentioned because they are individuals that decided to go against people that did nothing wrong to them. That is an emotional vampire. Then it goes on in verse 12. And the poetry in this is just magnificent. They are hidden reefs or elements of danger in your love feast. What does that mean? They come to church or wherever you gather together with you. They're hanging out with you. They're there. They're enjoying themselves. And they boldly feast sumptuously. This is all for the Amplified version. They carouse together in your midst without scruples, providing for themselves alone. It's only about them. Now I'll give you a funny story. So one time, a lot of years ago, I was a teacher in the church in a wow, that was a long time ago, in another church, and they decided to take all the teachers out to eat. So we went out to eat, and one of the things that astounded me, I think you're gonna laugh at this. Some of the people that were there, they went to the buffet and they opened their purses and they began filling their purses with chicken wings and with food from the buffet. And that struck me as such a horrendous and cheap thing to do. So this reminds me of that kind of thing. It says they're just eating with you without scruples, providing for themselves alone. And then it goes on. They are clouds without water. What does that mean? That it promises rain, but there's no rain. These emotional vampires, they make you so many promises and you fall for it. And next thing you know, they're empty promises, swept along by the winds. They're trees without fruit. At the late autumn gathering time, when they should have fruit, they have no fruit. In other words, these trees are mature enough to bear fruit, but they bear no fruit. Twice, doubly dead, lifeless, and plucked up by the roots. Verse 13, they are like wild waves of the sea. They fling up a lot of foam. But what's the foam that they fling up? Shame and disgrace, wandering stars. Now, and if salvation doesn't come to them, for whom the gloom of eternal darkness has been reserved forever. And then it keeps on describing in verse 16. They are inveterate murmurers. They grumble about everything, complain about their lot in life, even though they have made bad decisions. They go after their own desires. In other words, they're controlled by their passions. They talk boastfully and arrogantly because they have that high sense of self-esteem. They claim to admire people and pay people flattering compliments to gain advantage. So if you're one of those people that likes to be flattered, boy, you're going to be a victim because that's exactly who they go for. They like that kind of thing. So be careful about that kind of thing. And it goes on, verse 19. It is these who are, they're agitators. They set up distinctions and they cause divisions. They're sensual, very sensual. What does that mean? They're like carnal, worldly minded. Sometimes we're surprised how they are. And then it says they are devoid of the Holy Spirit. In other words, the things of God are far from them, even though they may be congregating with us, and destitute of any higher spiritual life. And I'm going to stop it there because the next section, we're going to get into that next week because it's going to really be speaking to us about how we can help these individuals. So that was a bit there. Thank you, Henry, because you brought us to that section. So it's 7:52. So we're gonna try to wrap things up a little bit here, and then we will continue next week. And Carmen, don't worry, this is gonna stay up on Facebook, and then I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and we're gonna continue next week. So you didn't miss anything. You can always replay it. I'm gonna do a little bit of backtracking here, and then I'm gonna let you guys talk here. Emotional vampires are threatened by boredom, uncertainty, accountability, and having to give as well as receive. They have a problem with that. They're takers, they're not givers. If you're a giver, you need to know your limits because some takers have no limits, and that's going to hurt you. So you have to be aware of that. They're just like children with it's an all about me mentality. They are the center of their world and have a difficult time revolving around anyone else. So for the antisocial vampire, you need to recognize them before they turn on the charm. For the histrionic vampire, never tell them anything you wouldn't want the world to know. Don't give them your private business because it's not going to be private anymore. For the narcissistic vampire, don't compete with them. They refuse to lose. Let them win. Don't worry about it. For the obsessive-compulsive vampire, don't get caught in details with them. They're very detail-oriented. They have mucha labia. What that means? A lot of lip. They speak well. They'll run circles around you. Before you know it, you're agreeing with everything they say, even if it's just to get them to be quiet. So you got to be careful about that kind of thing. And for the paranoid emotional vampire, stick to the truth. Don't give in to their barrage of questions. They're going to go on and on and on and on and on. And before you know it, you're wrapped up. You don't know what to think. You don't know what to do. You're going to go along with them because you're playing their game. Refuse to play the emotional vampire game. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. That's a lot of material, I know. That's basically the whole book. We're going to do part 2 next week, which is going to be how we can protect ourselves from emotional vampires, and if we are an emotional vampire, how we can stop being that kind of individual. So give me questions, comments, what you like about this, and we'll go on. What do you guys think about these emotional vampires and what we can do about them or with them? These are pretty strong individuals. And some of them do have a lot to give. So we have to give them credit there. They need to be educated in a good way. And maybe you and I are the people that can help them. Right? I think you guys are. I see those fingers flashing there, getting ready to write stuff. All right, let me see. Okay. All right, let me see. Where are we? Jay says they are the people at the buffet table loading the wings. I'll never forget that. Pastor Sam, you're very welcome. Jay says, does it require garlic necklaces and crosses? I don't know, but I would eat the garlic necklaces though. Thereya says, this is great. Can we do a part 2? Absolutely. Next week, same place, same time. Okay, Farah says, we should be more mindful of who we encounter. Wait a minute. And definitely set boundaries. Okay, let's jump in here. When sharing love. Absolutely. Dima says, thank you. You're very welcome. Yes, Theresia says that we need to work on the self, I guess on ourselves, to become self-aware of the signs. Yeah, we also need to understand where we're needy and where we fall for stuff. Karen says, love this. Thank you. You're very welcome. Eileen says, thank you for helping us understand what to be aware of. So we need to understand where you and I, where we are in a place of vulnerability. We have to be very, very careful about the places of vulnerability where we are. Sometimes, there's a saying in Puerto Rican, mejor solo que mal acompañado, right? It's better to be alone than in bad company. Sometimes we really have to develop that sense of self-worth where we will say, I'm going to be alone for a time because I understand that I'm so needy that I get myself into bad relationships. That's a hard thing to admit, but I think we should, because it's for our own safety. Jay says, sometimes we have to back away from the situation, but as we back away, they continue to walk forward. Great class. We need all the tips to protect ourselves. Absolutely. Oh, Henry asked the question, do we contribute to the emotional vampirism? We absolutely do. And we need to be very careful about that. Maybe that's something that we'll speak a little bit more about next week. So guys, it's 7:59. Gonna go off the air. God bless you all. I hope this was instructive to you. Eileen says, teach us how to set boundaries and precisely what that word means. Many of us do not understand how to set boundaries. Okay, that's very good. So you know what? This is your task. You'll be here next week. Get us a little bit of information on setting boundaries. Real quick. Just snippets like we do here. Snippets of information. All right? So since you asked the question, get some info on that for next week. Don't forget. Susana says, that's what my mom used to say. Mejor solo que mal acompañado. Yeah, we got to be careful. Oh, this is good. Uba says, try not to meet with them at the end of the day when you're tired or on Friday. Pray before you meet with them. You got that right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nancy, my friend Nancy, This Nancy's here. She's one of the greatest Knicks fans ever. She said, "That's so true. Everything you said. I ruined my life." You, Nancy, we have spoken so many times. God bless you. You're fine. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful night. You can certainly keep the comments coming, but I'm going to be out of here. I will see you again next Wednesday at 7 p.m., Lord willing, and we will do part 2 about this particular topic. It'll be here on Facebook, and between tomorrow and Saturday, it'll be up on our YouTube channel, Open Door Ministries. Please look us up. We have over 300 sermons there and some other teachings, and you're more than welcome to join us there. God bless you all, and I will see you next week.